Turning now to our coronavirus coverage, the nation reaching a grim milestone late yesterday. More than 100,000 Americans have died from the virus. Americans from all walks of life and across generations have died. In just a few short months, this pandemic sweeping the world has infected some 2 million right here at home. And a week following criticism over its testing numbers, Georgia's Department of Public Health has updated its site reflecting antibody test information separate from the coronavirus test information. Mara Siriani live in downtown Atlanta. Mara, this is an important distinction to separate them here.
It really is. As we know, mixing antibody test results with positive COVID-19 test results is what skewed Georgia's numbers in the first place. Now, during an 11 Alive Reveal investigation, we learned that out of 77,835 serology or antibody tests, more than 4,600 of those were actually positive results. That means those individuals don't have COVID right now, but they may have in the past. The state says those results will not be added to the number of confirmed cases to avoid counting anyone twice. Pull those out and our percentage increases to just under 10%. The CDC says the antibody test results should not be used to make decisions regarding people returning to work. Officials also say the test should not be used to determine the immune status. Now, heading into Memorial Day weekend, we did see a spike in the state, but right now it is virtually impossible to know whether or not that spike is due to an increase in testing in Georgia or whether or not it's due to a second wave of COVID-19.
All right, Mara. Later today, 2 more popular spots at the Battery will reopen for indoor and patio dining. Sports and Social Atlanta and the Tavern will offer no contact ordering and payments for its customers. The outdoor dining space extended to allow for social distancing. Live entertainment will also start up again in the areas surrounding Truist Park.